Adam Carolla did an interview with the Daily Caller to promote his new book, and listen to his genius thoughts on rich people and poor people.
You write in your book that you want to be the Al Sharpton of rich white guys. What does that mean? What is the Al Sharpton of rich white guys? Who would that person be?
Well, right now it's Donald Trump, because he helps, guys. Let's say your tea time is 10 a.m., but you get to the clubhouse and you're a little bit late, and then they put you in a foursome with a couple of Asian guys you don't want to be in a foursome with. He jumps in, he makes it right. And I would like to take over his mantle as the Al Sharpton for rich white guys. And he can't keep it forever, I can't tell if he's the Don King of rich white guys or the Al Sharpton of rich white guys, but yeah. I don't even remember what I was referencing. It must have been referencing something.
No, but you say in the book, I think, that, people hate rich people.
Yes.
But then you became kind of, started meeting rich people, and you said, actually, they're pretty smart, and you can learn a lot from them. And I think you were saying you were advocating as opposed to kind of those who demonize.
Well, I'll take it a step further. They're better than poor people. They just are. I've hung around with plenty of poor people. Now I've hung out with rich people. They work harder, generally, more focused, a little more. The folks I grew up with, the poor people I grew up with, fairly lethargic, did a lot of complaining, smoked a little too much, drank a little too much, blamed everyone but themselves a little too much. And, this notion that rich people are like, oh, well, daddy's money and, born with a silver spoon. I don't know any rich people that were really born rich.
Oh, well, I guess that settles it then. How positively scientific of you, Adam Carolla. I love how he bases his opinions just on what he saw. Like, I was walking down the street the other day. I saw a redhead. She was ugly. All redheads are ugly. End of conversation. Saw a black guy one time. He was drinking. All black guys drink. End of conversation. What a fucking idiot this guy is. Look, man, the thing that's so annoying to me about Adam Carolla is that I've seen him in some forums where I don't think he's an idiot. Like, I saw he was doing a podcast with Joe Rogan, and they were going back and forth talking about some pretty interesting stuff, and they had pretty interesting takes on different things. And it's clear that his mind is functioning. Like, his brain isn't broken, but he comes to these outlandish conclusions so often. He used to do the Man Show, and he's a pretty decent guy, but whenever he starts talking about politics, it's clear he's got this crazy view of the world, like we actually live in a pure meritocracy. And the bigger the size of your wallet, the better a person you are. He just said it. He said, well, rich people, they're just better than poor people. Really? That's how it works? It's that simple? What a clown, man. So there's so many ways to debunk this claim. First of all, we've all seen that chart, the economic chart of productivity versus wages. And what it shows is that from 1980 and onward, the productivity of the average American was shooting through the roof, man. It was steadily rising the entire time, but the wages stagnated. So those people that he's complaining about, that he says complain and they smoke too much and they drink too much and they're not working hard enough. No, they're fucking working just fine, man. That productivity line is going straight up. Americans on average are working hard, but their wages stagnated. Why? Because the game is rigged against them. The tax code is rigged against them. Okay, we've gone over this time and time again. When unions declined, the middle class wages declined. When money was legalized in the political system and the politicians started taking money from billionaires and big corporations, all of a sudden they started legislating only in favor of billionaires and big corporations. It's not a surprise, man. We've also discussed on the show a lot the economic mobility statistics. Now, this is what one would call the American dream, the idea that the harder you work, the further you go. Economic mobility is the ability of the younger generation to do better than the previous generation. And in the U.S., we're at the bottom of the modern industrial countries in the topic of the American dream. Now it's the Canadian dream. The most recent study on this showed that Canada now has one of the highest levels of economic mobility. So they're ahead of us in the American dream. And then also, look, it doesn't matter, Adam, if in your life, I don't doubt your personal experience, man. He probably does know some poor people who, in his eyes, didn't work hard enough. And he probably does know a lot of rich people who made it themselves, right? But if you look at the actual numbers and the statistics and move away from your anecdotal perspective, inheritance levels in the U.S. are through the roof compared to other nations. This is a nation of Paris Hiltons. Okay, this is a nation of pampered little pricks who inherit daddy's money or granddaddy's money. Donald Trump's dad was worth, what was it, $400 million or something like that. If you give me a $400 million head start, I'll be considered a business genius too. And meanwhile, he went bankrupt 4 times. I wouldn't go bankrupt 4 times. So I guess I'm better at business than he is. But all Adam Carolla sees is he has money now. He must be a good person. He must have worked hard. Look, the Koch brothers, for example, these are the billionaires that the right-wingers love and the left-wingers hate. The reason why the left-wingers hate them is because they got all their money from their dad. And then they fight against raising the minimum wage and just little things that would help people out tremendously and would only cut into their profits a tiny amount. You know, they inherited their money from their dad. It was their dad who cut deals with Stalin and because he was a pioneer in oil refinery. So there's a lot of people. This is the nation of Paris Hiltons. I'll say it again. And that's not me speaking again. The statistics show that inheritance levels in the U.S. Are much higher than in other modern industrial nations. And you have to understand, man, we live in a country, again, where you could work a full-time job and not make enough money to survive. I know I mention this fact on every show that we do, but it's overwhelming to me. The idea that you can, wake up, work from 9 to 5, bust your ass, and you still need to use Medicaid and you still need to use food stamps because your job doesn't pay you enough to live. And then guys like Adam Carolla come by and say, you're inferior. Yeah, you working a full-time job and not being able to pay the mortgage or the rent and not being able to feed your kids and needing to use government programs because your fucking greedy-ass corporation won't give you $10 an hour, But Adam Carolla comes along and goes, no, it's your fault. It's all your fault. But Adam, did you not hear? I just described to you. You could work a full-time job. We have over 10 million working poor people in the U.S. And you're saying, no, poor people are just inferior. They're just inferior. And then also the idea that smoking and drinking, like, oh, they smoke and drink too much. Who the fuck made you the police and the ultimate arbiter of how much people can smoke or drink? I know a lot of people who work really fucking hard, but they also smoke and drink a lot. Are those people inferior? Is that what's going on here? And also, dude, you do a fucking podcast, okay? No humility. This guy has no humility. Oh, yeah, rich people are just superior. Really? Do you know how a lot of people get rich in the United States of America? And by the way, I have nothing against these people. They actually earn their money a lot more than the douchebags on Wall Street did when they're fucking pushing numbers around on a computer screen and rigging a system, okay? But people get rich in the United States from playing basketball, from playing golf, from fucking running their mouths on a podcast like you, Adam Carolla. Do you really think you're worth 700 times more than a guy who labors for a living as a construction worker? Because you can talk, because you talk online and some people like listening to it. Does that mean you're 700 times better as a person than a guy who lays bricks for a living? It's the arrogance of Adam Carolla and the fact that he has no humility and no respect for the fact that you live in a country where you got rich through totally arbitrary means, man. And this is why guys like Bill Maher are so respectable, because he admits it. He goes, look, man, I'm lucky. I live in a country where they respect somebody who can make you laugh. And I'm a comedian. I make people laugh, and they give me fucking millions of dollars. Sometimes I wake up and pinch myself and go, really? This is how it works? I'm worth this much more money than this other guy who's an accountant for a living? I mean, it doesn't make any sense, right? Look, your worth in the marketplace is not equal to your worth as a human being. But what he's saying is, no, that's true. Your worth as a human being is equal to the size of your wallet. Duh. Well, then, I guess there's only what? I guess those 85 people here, final thing I'll say. I guess those 85 people who have more wealth than the bottom 3.5 billion people in the world, 85 people, more money than 50% of the world, okay? I guess they just worked that much harder than the 3.5 billion people. I got news for you, Adam. It's impossible for somebody to work that much harder than anybody else.